Previously on GLL PUBG.
Kickstart has no armor for this fight.
Pome just threw his pan in the air. Uber picks himself up 2 more and makes it 10 kills and counting for Faceland. Backfire, but will get taken down from the hillside. Jeans will drop, but look at this. Team Liquid are cleaning up. They're in the cars ready to go, but they're going to pass straight by Team Liquid, who are on Pachinki Hill. Pulled up. Oh! With an all. You'll love to see it, and he lands it.
Nice shots. Miracle's going to attack damage sample and keep done. So well played.
Stock footage of Stockholm, and it's anything but a stock tournament so far. In fact, you could say it's a stacked tournament as we get into day number 2 of Global Loot League's PUBG Season number 5 finals here in Sweden. And yesterday was a heck of a start. It was the first international day of play in 2020 for PUBG, and we were expecting big things. A lot of changes. Only 2 teams returned this year, at least at this event, with the same roster. And we got a good sample right away of who was going to do what. In fact, interestingly enough, we got an odd sample because the very first team eliminated on Game 1 was Team Liquid, which was a bit of a surprise. Welcome back, Toffees and Hypoc. Good day yesterday, I think, overall.
That was a great day overall. I mean, I had a blast. It was good to see everyone sort of back together again and to see the new rosters sort of try to find their footing.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of really exciting games, a few disappointments. But, you know, obviously, like we said, this is the first glimpse of 2020 and these new rosters. So, expecting some big things to happen today now that maybe nerves have settled a little bit and people are going to get into the rhythm. Yeah,
and we've had a win from every region represented, with the exception of the Oceanic region. They are, of course, only represented by Athletico. They were still in the mix. I think they had a 4th place, maybe even a top 3 at one point in time. I don't remember exactly, but they were
here yesterday.
Battles. Okay,
they were here yesterday.
Yeah. So I got distracted. I don't know if you guys can hear it over there, but like in the back, the scrims are going on right now, so you can hear the players getting hyped and yelling at each other. I think that's my favorite part of sort of having everyone back together again. Like yesterday, we actually saw, I think it was Wildcard maybe, knocked Tornado out of a drop spot, and they stood up in their chairs and started yelling across the stadium.
I think that's a typical Keenan thing.
Yeah,
it's the first time, obviously, Keenan's had his opportunity to kind of... he's well known for screaming into the mic.
I will say,
it's mental, man.
It's nice to see. I like the arena that they face each other for that reason. That's old school to me. That's raw. Get into it. Get under the skin.
He literally stood up and yelled like, "Get wrecked!" Like at them.
Honestly,
something along those lines.
This arena
was definitely not that clean.
This arena was one of my favorite to compete in for that reason alone. You can obviously look up, you can see the disappointment in people's faces when you wipe them, and again, there's no better feeling than that.
Does that fuel you? So that's an interesting idea. So in game, you wipe a team. Would you actually look up and see that like the moment they rip off their headsets?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. If there's a weak spot, you need to identify it.
Fair. See you in the plane, nerds. That said, we're going to look back at the schedule from yesterday. It started out on Miramar. We had 2 Miramar games, a single Sandhawk solo, and then we jumped into Erangel to finish it off. We reverse Miramar and Erangel each day. Sandhawk will remain number 3 on the calendar each and every. We've had 6 of our 18, 12 to go, and we start out in the Big Green Forest, the Big Green map that actually started out the whole game today, which is nice. It's the classic. It might be, you said yesterday, one of the last times we see classics.
This will be one of the last times. They've announced, PUBG Core has announced that going forward, we're going to start to use the new map, sort of that reconstruction of Erangel, which personally I absolutely love. But it does mean that a lot of these teams are going to have to reprogram. So this is a nice event. It's a chance to sort of play the old map and work on synergy and team dynamics, because starting in a couple of weeks, it's going to be a very different map. I don't say very different, but there are a lot of changes.
There's a lot of changes
that they have to deal with.
Definitely, and especially, looking towards late game, differences in terrain and stuff like that. Hopefully going to get some variation with that. But interestingly enough, today is going to be interesting for... Obviously, we had a few teams do really good in the first 2 games. Yeah. And third game, obviously, Sandhawk, you can write it off if you want to look at it that way. But now to have Miramar being the last 3, we're going to have the warm-ups on Erangel today. And hopefully... a couple of these teams can turn around their poor Miramar performances from yesterday.
Yeah, and just to note, in terms of poor performances and trends between the 2 maps.
Exalt. It's
Exalt
the one I'm
was
looking at.
amazing in the morning. 50-point morning, 3 top threes, and something like 32 kills. They then had 3 top threes and 30, I must have been 3 kills to get 51 points from WTSG in the afternoon, who obviously then eclipsed them and took the lead. You would have thought Exalt, with that much of a that much momentum from the first 3 maps, would finish the day number 1. They didn't. That's 6 points in the afternoon.
I mean, I think I made a joke earlier that it was yesterday's theme was sort of saltwater, right? The first half of the day was all about salt. Exalt came out of the gates just banging on the desert, and then we went to the opposite side, the back 3 games, and Liquid just was absolutely on fire. Sandhawk sparked some sort of primal destruction urge in them.
Yeah, and again, that could be the confidence boost to get that 3rd game coming out. And again, lots of teams just say we'll salvage points, and to come out with 11 kills and a
12, I think, on the Sandhawk.
12?
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
And then the 7th place as well. Nothing like turning around 2 bad performances like that.
It was 11, you're right.
If you weren't fortunate enough to join us yesterday, we're going to bring up sort of the format, the recap, the teams in attendance, because we're giving you a lot of context, but we haven't mentioned everyone. There they are. As I said, it is the first international LAN. Obviously, we don't have the Asian region in attendance here at Global Loot League, but we do have the Latin American, the Oceanic, obviously Europe, Middle Eastern, and Africa, all kind of lumped together into that EMEA, as you guys like to call it, and then North America. And that's, I think, nice to see that we've had a win from each region. The fact that Singularity picked up game number 2 on the day, great start for them. The Latin American teams don't tend to be that aggressive. They kind of just exist within the map pools and the team pools. Yesterday, they were a factor.
But they had a good finish yesterday. They ended up with a 4th place and a 3rd place in the last 2 games, and a decent kill stack for, I mean, only 1 point in the 4th, but I remember that was a snake mission by one of the players. But again, we saw Pome yesterday kind of actually... stepping up a few times. There was a whiff on Sandhawk, but, stepping up a few times and looking really confident.
The interesting thing is how that matters, because, okay, placement's one thing, but Team Liquid, for example, and actually FaZe, I'll use that as a better example. They don't have very many placement points at all. I think they have something like 4 placement points. We'll get to the leaderboard in a minute. But despite that you get these for finishing position, and if you're outside of the top 8, you get nothing. You can still get a lot of kills. You can still accumulate kills. And I think FaZe finished the day with something like 29 kills, which means they've got a decent amount of points still. Well,
we made the comparison. Actually, Liquid only has 10 more placement points for them, and they're sat in 3rd right now. So it accounts for everything. And again, Liquid yesterday, I mean, didn't even end up winning a game. So to say that like they're still keeping pace with other teams that are doing much better with placement is good.
And this is what it all comes down to in the end when we finish our 18 maps, again, 12 to go today and tomorrow. $150,000 prize pool. That's the breakdown, but there's also the fact that it's a clean slate this year, no more leagues, opening back into the majors. You're the first to win a tournament. You're going to be very much in the watchful eye of not only your competitors, but the other tournament organizers.
I mean, to build off of sort of what Hypox said, and you're looking at that prize pool, if you want to be the one to raise that $65,000 check, you got to put points. Yesterday, at the end of the day, we were talking about WTSG. We said, look at the points these guys have been getting in sort of kills throughout the process. They don't even have a win yet. When they do get a win, it's going to be dominant. And they did. They move up to 1st place. Liquid is in the exact same position. They're putting up huge, decent kill number, decent to huge, varying by game. When they get that win, it's going to skyrocket them up to catch up or get ahead of WTSG.
Well, and we'll bring up the leaderboard now as well, because looking at Liquid, as I said, they were the first team in the event to get knocked out on map number 1 with 0 kills. That means in essentially 5 games, they were to accumulate 46 points and put themselves, as you say, into 3rd place, not only in contention, but in a position where today, if they do pick up some wins, they could be on the top of the leaderboard.
But here you go, like I was just saying here, FaZe Clan, 4 placement points, 29 kills. Team Liquid, only 14 placement points and 32 kills. So this shows really, and again, the numbers, you can look at them, but it's still tightly knit in the middle of this leaderboard.
This should be inspiring for the teams on the bottom, because Liquid went down, like you said, in the 1st round, but it's about having that Rocky mentality, the idea that just because you go down doesn't mean you're out. It doesn't mean you've lost the fight. It just means you've lost the round, but you can score points in other places. That's what Liquid chose to do, and the other teams need to do the same thing. One of those teams is Athletico in 11th place, okay? We keep talking about the regions. Every region's got to win. There's 3 big regions here. Hey, guys, there's 4 of them, and Athletico probably is happy that we haven't talked too much about them right now, but they represent all of OCE. They're underperforming, but that doesn't mean they're out of it yet. They can pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get up on this list.
No surprise in the top killing category that with Exalt having the day that they had, they've got a player in the top 5, but WTSG, with both the most placement points and kill points, have 2. Zhong, for those of you who aren't aware, is Sampty. He's made it very clear he's Zhong. He said at the interview, he corrected Cat right away. Nope, it's Zhong now. So we'll go with it. and Iroh coming in. You guys have been bigging him up a lot.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Iroh. I think anybody who perseveres through the challenges and sort of the hate that he got when he first came onto the scene is somebody that deserves a little extra love in hindsight. He's been doing well, and I think he's developing into one of the best players potentially in the world. And I know that you've got a lot of love for like Pio out of the Eastern regions. I think Iroh could potentially, maybe not the leadership level of someone like Pio, but on raw skill, catch up there.
I mean, you got a collection, you can count them on one hand. Your James, Uber, Iroh, there's a lot of talent within that EU region. Just one thing, Monkey being at the top of that, to see him come back to form.
Yes,
fantastic.
It's good that you mentioned James, because we're going to look at the top 3 teams and the day that they had. I'm sure he will feature in a number of these highlights. Again, very slow start. Didn't get a win. They did have a second place, Liquid, and I'm sure that that'll appear any second. Here we go. I think it was game 5, and that came down to almost a one-on-one situation, isolated situation on the hill, and then EXO kind of steamrolled them when they got momentum on the high ground.
It was
but
close,
that could have gone either way.
It was close.
I say it was a one-on-one. I think it was 3-on-1 at the end, but it was an even battle at the start of it.
But again, it just comes down to they made the choices. They said, you know what? This is a weird circle. It's going to be this game was an anomaly in terms of final circle. Liquid did the right thing. They said, we're going to just play this aggressive. We're going to look for the hunt, and we're going to take fights nonstop. Comparing to that to how WTSG played the same map, they sort of found a compound and just waited it out.
And I guess that's where all the secrets are.
Yeah, I like
17's been reading up in between. Mexi not so interested, but shout out to Mexi, by the way. That 2-piece there in the end game was actually disgusting.
I wanted to bring him up as well, because again, we've talked about the twins being separated and going to different teams. You bring in a guy like K-Mine, you guys touched on that yesterday, tons of fragging potential, but Mexi brings a lot of experience from FaZe as well.
Dude, this is the thing. You think way back, everybody was convinced Mexi was cheating, and actually he played such a vital role and then partly unsung hero. You know, you talk about FaZe's successes, we talk about Uber being insane. Nobody ever really gives Mexi the props that, he earned from the start of PUBG, and actually now coming into another team and being able to play a similar sort of support fragger role. Actually, he's probably one of the most decorated team captains we have in Europe.
I'm going to call it the slow burn just quickly, because I think that you give them a day, the experience they have, new roster, you give them a day to sit back and go, we made that mistake. Oh, I didn't know you were all right, let's fix it tomorrow. You watch. I think if they start rolling, they're going to be unstoppable.
I mean, that's the thing about Liquid. It's hard to kill what you can't catch. They're smart. They play very well. They can play independently. That's 4 players who, honestly, you can lose anybody and the other 3 will step up. You can lose any 3 and the last one could win a fight.
I mean, again, how much we want to value scrims, but we've seen him in scrims do like a 4 solo split. Across all 3 maps, and it's not just unique to Sandhawk. We've seen them do it, and they end up holding crashes down 1v2 in teams that come and crash it. So I'm interested to see what Mexi can provide in terms of macro towards Liquid's new roster.
And I think when you talk about these events, these international but sort of Western international events, something to talk about is how a lot of these teams play a very similar style of PUBG. Liquid is evolving to me. Remember at PGC, we were always shocked at how the Korean teams would do these massive spreads where they were okay with their teams taking 2v4s. They trusted the individual skill of each player. Liquid, to me, is sort of stepping up into that role. They're saying we want to be able to sort of take territory and let our guys do their thing.
That's exactly the key I was going to make, especially with since I was last involved in the PUBG. I mean, I've watched, sure, but the sped up circle play early on, especially if you can split and actually hold ground, you have so much rotation option. Exalt, I want to bring them up because they finished the day in second place. We were spending yesterday's halftime show praising them because what a start they had. 50 points, 32 kills, dominated on Miramar, and followed it up with a great performance on Sandhawk as well. So really, the best of, I guess, 2 different maps yesterday. Sure, Erangel meant that they fell off a lot and only got 6 points, but over 2 different maps, they were fairly impressive to start the day. We'll see a lot of their highlights here in a second, and I'm sure that in those highlights, we'll see a lot of very aggressive engagements.
As we wait for the highlights, let's talk about the construction of the team, right? This is a team that has been together, 3 of them for almost a full year now. 2 of these guys, Shiv and Monkey, have been together, I mean, forever.
Since the year dot, really. You talk about PUBG, you talk about Against All Authority, previous, obviously, they came in, they were the first event I ever attended in Korea, the PSS beta, and again, Oakland as well. We think that far back to still have people that are teamed up together is wild.
And that's it. They're an iconic duo. They're kind of like what we used to think of as FaZe and Mixie and the Sharp Shot, kickstart combo. This is another combo that's been together. They play effectively together. Uder's doing the shot calling. He's doing a great job with it. He's got a good mentality. But for me, it's Nailup has really been a great ad. His damage numbers are absolutely out of control when he stays alive.
And people sleep on him as well.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
they don't
to have
know.
a player to come out and perform like that and it not be expected.
Yep.
Maybe not from his teammates, but again, that's a huge boost to your team moving forward. It's just a shame they finished the way they did.
I was very, and they're still. You say that, yes, okay, they fell off in the afternoon. It does.
They fell off and still ended in second.
Yeah, exactly. Today's a new day, literally for everyone, not the top teams, but also the bottom. Today is very much a new day. The top team, however, of course, was Welcome to South Georgia. I'm still going to call them that. They want to go by WTSG. It still says it in their logo. It's nostalgic. They looked remarkable, and obviously that's where Zhong has found his new home. Big changes within that lineup, but very, very impressive overall. I think once we hit Erangel, they were untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the end game up near the plane crash versus SDK, and even then it wasn't easy in a 2v4 situation. They still, but I mean, Iroh ended up getting a knock onto Alo, I think, and it was only actually down to Kurt at the Shack that ended up closing that game out. But just late game, they've looked absolutely dominant, and if they can keep 4 up, these are 4 players that we know. The team synergy for this team is so high. So high, and we've seen a couple of sloppy end games, not to call them out, but Wildcard, we saw them not necessarily throw games, but this is actually the spray I was talking about here. Yeah. Just making it difficult for them, and again, things like that, as long as you're not rolling over and dying, do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that's going to help you mental.
Also worth noting, a lot of the highlights you're going to see are going to be Iroh. I think get comfortable with that, because that's going to be a reality going forward. But I want to reiterate what I said yesterday when I talked to Xiong, and he said Xiong's played on some of the best teams in the PUBG world. He said this is the best individually talented roster I have ever played on. On top of that, I asked what's your biggest challenge of sort of taking over IGL, and he said it's adapting to an edge play style. So he came in as IGL, and instead of changing the team to fit his IGL calling style, he said, you guys like to work the edge. You like to play aggressive. I'm going to adapt my style of play calling to what you guys want to do. And I think that shows sort of a real community vibe from them that can only be good.
I think that's a very difficult thing to do in any esport, in any sport for that matter, but it's a managerial skill as much as a coaching skill.
It goes against what you kind of feel and what you believe.
But not only that, he's letting his teammates play to their strengths. Rather than saying, okay, this is how my mind works, he's going to go, no, hang on, that's how they work. Let's be, and maybe there's going to be some mistakes as a result of that. Maybe they're going to get too aggressive, they're going to get caught out, but they're going to learn from each and every time that they do that, and he's going to adapt and adjust.
I mean, because I think in this game in particular, and you've played this level, I think you've called it this level as well, there's got to be a lot of instinct that sort of goes into those calls and those intense moments. So it's got to be tough, right, to change the way that you sort of adapt your instincts.
I mean, on top of that as well, to have 3 teammates that trust you as well, that trust your instinct, even if it's not what they believe or what they think is the best play, and to execute it and still come out on top. Again, that's just invaluable to a team.
Yeah. Well, I think that yesterday was a great introduction. I'm going to call it that. Not that the caliber of play was anything less than exceptional, but it's because we've got to get ready for a heck of a lot more of that. And today we start out on the Classic. Again, Miramar and Erangel will swap each and every day. That means our first 2 maps this morning are on the big green island we all love, and to talk us through how that map plays and should play, it's going to be Toby.
I don't think there is one. I think it's very team dependent. Like if you want to play on the edge, you wouldn't want to land in the middle of the map, because if it's in a center circle, you're not on the edge. Like if we go over to, I don't know, Liquid in Pachinki, they don't usually play on the edge, they like playing center. Therefore, if you're already in the middle of the map, then if we take a look at, I think the game that ended up by plane crash, they rotate pretty much immediately towards the north up to Everest to get an early center position there too. So by being center of the map, oftentimes you get to be center pretty much wherever you want to go as well. I don't think there's a best place to land. I just think you land according to what play style you want to play. Okay, so I think as a caster, I'm probably one of the few casters who are more on the player's side of what's a good circle, because there are some casters that they will want those Sargi endings. I mean, okay, Sargi is dear in my heart. I want Sargi endings too, but some casters, they just want Armageddon. They just want the chaos and everything bad for the players. City endings, rough, miles out in the open circles. But the best circle for me, I think actually around plane crash, like we saw yesterday in day 1, that area I think it's really good. And then with the Erangel 2.0, once that comes in, I think a lot of the areas that right now are extremely tough on the eastern side of Severny, over towards Stalpa, all those endings with the terrain differences, like terrain changes that have been made, I think those endings will be extremely interesting too. off of recent performances, I would have to go with WTSG. I mean, you can just, yesterday, what was it? A win, a second, and a third place, and they average like 10 kills per game. That's, you don't really do that.
As I said, if you want to know how Erangel should play, you definitely are just as clueless as I am.
Yeah.
It is tough to explain. I think that the biggest takeaway, especially with where to drop and how you want to play, that's the key. You have to know, as you guys just said with Zhang, what your team likes and what you want to do. If you want to be in the center and be aggressive, go to the center. If you want to be an edge player...
most teams will always want to equip themselves to counteract the RNG and Battle Royale, as always. I've always been a firm believer in... Again, previously when I first joined, Optic, White and Fate, we dropped in North Georgia. It used to drive me crazy that 90% of circles we'd have to rotate and end up getting shafted on.
I would be curious. I know that Cass will be running around doing some fun stuff on the floor today. Maybe as she talks to players, throw in that extra question Toby had of like, what's the worst drop on Erangel? Where's the place you least likely want to go? Because we never talk about that.
Or how many players would actually object to their own team drop spot?
That's a good one.
Actually, I hate
all four
being
people.
here.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
You just kind of go with it because it's your team and you're going to roll with the homies. But that is a good point. Where's your favorite spot to drop?
School apps.
School apps?
In comp.
Puzzle piece?
In comp, school apps. Center of the map.
Yeah.
Nobody really messes with you.
I'm going to go to Zarky because I don't like...
You like Zarky?
I'm going to die anyway, so if I go to Zarky, at least I got some time before I arrive at the place that I'm going to die, and maybe some other people will all be knocked out, so I can get some placement points.
Find some glider spawns, have a good time.
That's perfect. Well, listen, there is a wild card in this broadcast, and that, of course, is Kat Conti. She's standing by with the warmest man on the floor. It's Wooly.
Oh, hey, what's up? We are on camera. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I mean, I slept well. I don't know, man, but as somebody who plays pub matches and, as a pro player, one thing I would love to know is where do you enjoy dropping in a pub match?
Millie base.
Millie base only? Is there anywhere else? So say it's Karakin or Karakin or what's Karakin, but where do you love to land?
Karakin, like beginning of the plane.
Do you enjoy the map, though?
I mean, it's great. People can't, go to bushes and kill you, but, I don't know. It's all right. It's solid. I don't really like the tall buildings, but it's okay, man.
I think it's a phenomenal map. But one thing I would love to know, though, is, again, as somebody, you boys back here are killing it, aren't you? You guys are going absolutely huge. You probably play with these boys. You probably play with them in pub matches, or at least I hope you do. Now, have you ever intentionally knocked them out just because they're annoying you?
No, but I do run them over sometimes.
No, one thing that I think a lot of us... Oh, he pops tires. I think we all do that, though, with our teammates. Now, I think a lot of us do this, or at least, a lot of the people I play with. Do you ever intentionally hold DMR attachments from them? Like, say they have a Mini 14 or anything like that, and you have a compensator. Do you ever just withheld that so you find one yourself?
I'm not really. Sharing is caring, so you got to give them the attachments they need.
Now, sorry about that.
Right.
Yeah. So one thing I would love to know, and the desk, is your least favorite drop on Erangel in competitive play.
Least favorite drop on Erangel in competitive play. Would have to be Pachinki because teams that loot there are just pretty bad.
Oh my gosh! I feel like you're referencing old method. That's ooh.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, but thank you so. Oh.
I feel like there's some backstory.
Oh wait, I have
here.
the panel in my ear. Is there anything you guys want to hear from Wildcard or any of the boys behind me, as they're so adamant on wanting to be part of this right now?
I mean, I want to hear more about what teams Wooly thinks suck.
Oh, they're really. Oh, they want to know what teams you think suck. They want some trash talk, man.
Tornado Energy Battle because they land in a bad loot spot on Miramar.
Ooh, the trash talk. I mean, I feel like that's classic North America.
His name is Trash, so it's called Trash Talk, I guess.
Wait, what was that back there? What did you want to get in?
SKS 1v3, naked, no armor. Yeah.
I feel like that's a reference to a scrim game, maybe.
Yeah, was that a reference to a scrim game? Because I know, or you just want this to happen? Oh, it is.
It's a past tense.
No, I feel like you're really liking this right now. So who's the dad of the team then? Because I feel like the trash talking. Oh, so you're the dad. It seems like you
definitely the dad. They're all like 16, so I'm the dad.
Desk, is there anything else you guys want back here? Some dances of any sort?
Wooly likes to dab.
He dabs. Well, can you?
I actually don't dab. Keenan is the best dabber on the team.
The panel would like to see him dab too.
All right, ready, team? 1, 2, 3. Hit it with a dab.
What? One-armed
Come on, you're
crumble.
representing North America. All right, okay, you got to do it one more time. All right, ready? No, you got to, yeah, Wooly.
I want to see a Wooly dab.
See, they want to see Wooly dab. All right. Well, I think that's all from them. Some of them seem shy. A couple of them really want to dance for you guys, but I think they're going to wait to get that first win on the board for you guys to really give us that dab that I'm not doing. The desk might do it for you guys. Yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it to Matt and the boys at the desk. Thank you.
Thank you, CatCon the second. I wanted to see the dad dab.
I wanted to see the dad dab.
Yeah.
Personally, a synchronized 4-man dab would have been.
It would have been sick.
It would have been great for a highlight reel,
Also,
right?
Tornado Energy, damn.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about Keenan being the person that will scream into his mic in pubs. Anybody that plays North American pubs knows that of Keenan, but it's fantastic to hear him do it here on
I think
land.
that might have been a reference to the same scream that we referenced, where he stood up and yelled at that point in time. Yeah, insane.
And that's exactly right. That is the one where he yelled across, but they're still fighting with them. And I think that's the issue is, they want to throw a little bit of shade on a team that's constantly causing them trouble in terms of their rotations. I kind
of want to hear the other side of that. I wouldn't mind if Cat ran over and caught up with Tornado and asked their opinion on that, because he said something about a 1v3, no armor, SKS. We know that they stood up and yelled. I'd
live on that.
I'd also like to possibly hear James counter the Pachinki team suck.
I thought that was 100% straight out Liquid. I agree.
It's got to be, right?
I like how Cat threw method in there.
Well, put it this way. It's either Liquid or it's Genesis and NA. So
yeah. Well, I'm sure he's taking shots at both, right? I mean, at the end of the day, Genesis
isn't here. He did put the key definitive word was all teams.
All teams.
Pachinki suck. Yep. So maybe it is that method, Genesis, Liquid, me, who knows?
Red Canids, technically.
Yeah, technically.
Red Canids is a Pachinki team in their region. So I think that's
That's a difficult thing to do, by the way. To come to another region, and you're so used to playing one style at home, and that's successful, and now you arrive at a different territory, can't play there.
Well, and I think a lot of teams who don't drop Pachinki give this argument of like, well, when you're in Pachinki, you always get the circle, so maybe you're not as good as everyone thinks you are, because if you always get the circle, you have a much higher percentage chance of getting, maybe not the win, but definitely placement and possibly kills in transition.
I mean, I guess the biggest... the most notable time we've ever talked about was C9 and FaZe, right?
Yeah.
When was it? No, it was C9 and Liquid, sorry.
Okay.
I'm thinking the FaZe hot drop in the last game.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's C9 and Liquid, obviously, historically, that have battled over. It's the first time I think we've seen a full series of the hot drop going on.
Yeah.
And then again, we know how that ended eventually. But
I mean, it basically ruined both of them.
Yeah, it did.
Cat tried to speak to them. Unfortunately, they don't speak the same language, so hand gestures might be inappropriate at that point. Maybe she can catch up with Liquid. See if
so it's got to be James then, right? We've got to get the James Pachinki comment.
Yeah. So I can't have a hand gesture interview.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's. It may not. That
probably
might get us
not
knocked
appropriate.
Off of Twitch.
Yeah, probably not appropriate.
Try it once.
Yeah. They. Say you
trash. That said, though, I mean, it's one of those things that it's good to see confidence in trash talk. Unfortunately, I think Wildcard's in 6th place right now. They could use maybe a little more of a focus, less on the trash talk and more on the actually hitting people with bullets side of things.
I mean, to be fair, first 3 games they ended in 2nd place. And I even asked Wooly, and he was just like, yeah, those games didn't go well. And I was like, well, if they didn't go well and you're still in 2nd,
sky's the limit.
Yeah, what would you have done differently? And I know they had a couple of endgame situations. I was talking to Sharpshot this morning, a couple of misplays, bad comms, and that was his own words, not mine.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what led to their end game kind of fumbles. But again, they were in a situation where they were 3v3 end game. The Singularity, obviously, Pome ended up clutching the 1v2 or whatever it was, and then on Sandhawk they had the unfortunate team friendly fire, if you like.
Yep.
So again. They're definitely not out of it. They're showing promise.
And then wasn't it Keenan that had that crazy behind the tree?
Yes,
just destroying people in the dip.
I think he knocked 3, and I don't think he got
Keenan
a single
was putting
kill.
in work.
Man, he was slaying it. I think he was swapping between the Mini and an AK or an M4. I can't remember, but just destroyed Oath as they drove by.
As they pulled in,
man, ridiculous performance from him. Unfortunately, like we said, I don't think maybe got 1. I don't think he even got any kills from it. I think they eventually knocked him down and got the reses. Listen, Kat has gone above our maturity levels. She's done with the trash talk. She's cutting Liquid out of this one. She's actually found a team that I'm curious to hear from, because they are the only team from the Oceanic region, but they also had an invite, and you brought up the point, maybe feeling pressured to perform as a result of that. It's going to be Nick 101 standing by with Kat Conti.
Oh, hello. Yeah, we are down here with Nick 101 from Athletico. Again, the only team invited from the OC region. Now, do you guys have any pressure on you guys being invited?
I think there's a lot of pressure being invited because they came 2nd last time. That's why they got the invite. So it's a lot of pressure to perform well, being the only team that got invited from any region. and only one team from OCE. So yeah, a lot of pressure.
I must say, though, you guys have some really nice attire on at this event. I think it's one of the flyest jackets I have out here. Oh, I know, Dusk, you agree with me. You guys have fly jackets, too, but theirs is a bit better.
Super fly.
They're really nice. So, again, being one of the most stylish teams, what is you guys' typical attire out here, out at the event?
Oh, so just some thongs, maybe a bit of a, not... Oh, okay. Thongs in Australia are very different. But yeah, G-string, thongs, same thing. Nice singlet on at home. Perfect attire.
Ask him if he'll do a shoey if he wins.
Oh, okay. So the Des wanted to know.
He doesn't even need to win. He'll do a shoey anyway.
No. So for a lot of us from the North America region, we've heard of a shoey. Now, if you guys were to win, is it a celebratory thing for you guys to do a shoey?
Yeah. So if we win, all of us will be doing a shoey. Plus everyone up on the desk up there, they'll all be doing one.
Bet.
I know. I've seen a couple people do shoeys before, but do me a favor and explain to people at home who might not know what a shoey is exactly what it is.
Maybe we can get a demonstration.
Oh yeah, give us a demonstration. So
Zoid's ready to do a shoey now.
Ready to shoey.
Oh my gosh! So I was sold.
No. You get the shoe. You put the liquid in it, usually a beer, not water, and then you just send it.
Oh gosh! Oh, except with the beer. Oh my! Yeah, we love the Wild Boys from the OCE region. Okay, now I know you guys are seated by the Wild guys of Wildcard, and I've been told that there's some friendly banter going on between you guys. What is it like to sit by those rowdy boys?
Oh, you can hear them every game. It's a bit wild. It's not too friendly. We don't actually like them that much. But, we're sat where we're sat, so we got to, make do.
If there's anything you wanted to say to them, obviously behind their back, or, guys, I'll turn around their back, let us know.
No, nothing really to say. Just good luck to them today, I guess. Hope they do well.
Ooh, that was a lot nicer. Now, I tried to ask them to do a dab. Is there anywhere I can get a better dab than the NA boys? Look, as somebody from the NA region, that was unacceptable. OCE, show them how it's done, please. Oh, my God. Oh, we're a friendly dab.
Troll. Oh, man.
PUBG tournament turn dance competition. Oh, that was good. Is there anything from the desk you guys wanted to know more? You guys want more friendly banter down here? I'm just going to come up to all.
Can we get a little... let's get a little bit more serious for a second.
Ooh.
Nick 101 is constantly compared to Luke 12, and people are constantly asking, is he better? Does that bother him, or is he just better?
You guys asked for serious, and you go straight to trash talk almost. So,
a little bit.
Yeah, they wanted to know is if you're better than Luke 12, who recently started playing for a North America team.
Most definitely.
In what ways? Bolting, DMRing, strategy, or everything all around?
Just all around at life, I guess. Not so much PUBG, but,
I mean, to be fair, you are better at also growing a beard than he is. So, all the baby faces out here. Woo!
Got about 5 years on him. He's only 14, 15, I think. So, I got a couple of years on him yet. He'll grow one soon.
No, but thank you so much for that, boys at the desk. Yo, hit me with that dope knowledge up there.
Dope knowledge.
I've never fallen in love with an esports team more. Like, a shoey is supposed to be celebratory. It's also supposed to be done with alcohol because I'm assuming that helps kill the germs. Water out of a fresh shoe,
he's feeling hydrated.
That man's a bold dude.
Feeling hydrated.
I have never been... I challenge you to find someone at an event that has not fallen in love with Athletico when they've hung out with them or been around them at the event. They like to have fun. They're willing to take those risks and do that stuff.
And again, the storyline at Grand Slam, again, they gained a lot of fans. They wouldn't necessarily have had eyes on the region that were never previously there.
Yep.
And again, that majority of that came from them kind of gassing themselves up, and they raised the expectations from going to Grand Slam. Again, disappointing so far, but I definitely think that team has the potential to climb today and tomorrow.
Yeah, the boys.
I mean, you gotta love it. It's a region that's full of tenacity. Like, they haven't had the easiest trip. They started very slow in the scene. Sometimes they get one invited. Sometimes nobody gets to come to a tournament. But I expect nothing more from a place that has, spiders that are the size of your hand than to be tenacious and fight back and not be scared. That's what these guys do. They take the longest plane trips to get here. They do it on short notice. And they don't always win, but they do it with passion. And I respect the heck out of that region. And and they do it with a smile on their faces.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think those. If they win, I'm doing a shoey. They said we got to. I'm in.
I think it will be the third time I've done shoeys with the Aussies at events. But
I might go buy a new set of shoes. I just pull it out of the box. Don't tell anyone. But
the problem is Zoid whips off his shoe.
It's going to be clipped.
Drink right
it's going to be clipped.
Well,
now. Or they will make you do a shoey from somebody else's shoe, and that's just worse off anyway.
Yeah, they're going to give me one of their shoes. Like, we already did 10 out of this one.
Listen, these are the guys who convinced Brendan Green to do a shoey, which we had the pleasure of watching once upon a time. So,
fun fact: shoeys were banned at IEM Sydney, and that's one of the reasons that we're moving to Melbourne. There you go. I said it. That said, we're going to take a short 2-minute break. When we come back, we're going to get a little more serious. Maybe, I don't know. It's been pretty fun so far, so maybe we'll stay on this trajectory. But we are going to head straight toward Erangel. We'll see you in a sec.
Don't just watch PUBG, compete as well. Competitive ELO and ranking system. Climb the ladder. Start your path to pro. Head over to play.gll.gg. The best PUBG platform.
Welcome back to Global Loot League GLL Season 4 as we get ready for Day 2 of the PUBG action. We've had some fun, but let's get serious. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes before we get into our first game of 3. Don't forget, we'll be back for the halftime show after the first 3, where we can get lots of questions. If you guys want to be involved in those, by the way, hit us up with the hashtag GLLS4. We'll try and get those involved, whether it's through Cat on the floor or one of us, whatever you want, really.
Nice.
Toffees, hi, Puck.
What's up?
Yesterday on Erangel, we saw a few changes. FaZe already changing their drop spot. We saw some aggression pretty early on toward the military island on the first map, and then depending on the plane, then they went back toward George Pool.
I mean, we actually had a really interesting conversation. This was something that I'd observed as a player previously, and maybe not picked up on it so much, but we talked about how FaZe potentially could be weaker now, obviously switching that up. Obviously for, 2.5 years now, Milta Power has been FaZe territory, right? And there's been this kind of understanding, unwritten understanding. They don't really get a lot of pressure. They never contest the Milta side. They always obviously wrap up Lipovka way, across Prison Shelter or further north. And now, potentially, and then again, they obviously have their scrims and stuff to go by, but how much weaker are they going to be completely relearning rotation-wise and timings and things like that until they iron that down? Are they going to be a weaker team? And that, obviously, coupled with the roster change, has got to be a lot to deal with.
I mean, take nothing away from the FaZe era. They've played phenomenal. These guys know how to make, lemonade out of lemons when they get a bad rotation. But the reality is they were protected in a lot of ways. They had sort of Knights looting in the mansion. They had Vitality and Milta, and neither of them were ever really interested in fighting with FaZe. Whereas Paper Thin brought up earlier when we were chatting, well, in Korea,
they wouldn't get away with that.
They would camp their rotations. They would destroy anybody who was that sort of consistently doing things. So FaZe moving takes away some of that mystique, and I'm curious. It's a good chance to see how this new FaZe lineup adjusts to challenges that I think will be kind of new to them for the first time. Those sort of early circle challenges aren't something that happens often. I mean, anytime a circle would go up to a wood camp, nobody bothered messing with them because that hill was FaZe's hill.
And again, you got to take into account that this isn't the same as a scrim lobby. There's different teams, there's variables. You got to consider there's other teams moving at different times, different pathing.
I mentioned exactly kind of that earlier when I mentioned that you don't get your same drop spot necessarily. You might have a team from another region, but there's also the aspect of the fight, the mentality, the respect that's given that you just kind of touched on. I think I mean, you would have gone through some of that as a player. How much of that is actually legitimate and how much of that is in your own head?
I can be completely honest here. There's been times in the first circle we've heard FaZe fight and we're like, okay, we're not going towards that side of the circle. It happens. And again, especially if a team is on fire, they're playing well at an event, you don't want to mess with them. There's no way, because you're risking your own position unless you're completely secure at points.
But is that's an instance of a team in specific that you were avoiding? Has there been incidents where maybe you didn't realize it was an EU team crashing, or if it was an NA team crashing, you'd say, hey, let's get out there and go guns blazing, and then you get caught off by it? Has there been sort of a regional meta shift?
Yeah, I won't name names, but there's definitely teams you see in the kill feed that you're like, oh, either they lost one or there's somebody in particular, a player on a particular team. We know he's solo at this compound. There's 4-man crash him.
Yeah. I mean, it's not uncommon to see, especially in sort of the beginning of open qualifiers or regionals.
That randomness,
Yes.
the extra level of RNG.
And also top teams just bullying teams that they know they can get points off of. Because the reality is a kill is a point. And if you can get 4 kills right out the gate by bullying someone, that's the equivalent of you maybe getting 6th place, right? So why not take that risk to go and make the exchange?
I found that was a really good point yesterday that you guys brought up, is that you play for the next point rather than the win for the overall position that you're trying. This is a classic game. Maybe we can get some commentary on that from the boys. Because
there's some play-by-play. Where's Paper at? Play-by-play.
Those cards, they're paper thin. It seems perfect for him.
Hey, Lamau.
Yeah, Lamau.
Nice.
Get your rafflecopters out. Listen, I want one team from each of you today that we have to highlight, that we have to watch. Maybe not necessarily just on Erangel. I'll give you the free pass if you want to focus on that, because we've got a halftime. We can do it again. But a team that needs day 2 to be their day.
So I'll start this one off, and I think the team that I was hoping to watch from day 1 that just hasn't done anything, and I talked to them this morning, and they said, we can't get any worse. We're through our jitters. Let's step it up. Is Oath. This is a team that just got signed. They just rebranded. This is a big day for them, but they've got 2 underage players. Snakers was not playing himself yesterday. He wasn't doing sort of Snaker cocky, aggressive styles of play. He was being tentative. And honestly, I think Shinboy, he wasn't being the Shinobi Ninja he named himself after. He was a little shaky. So I want to see them step up, because they now, nothing to lose, second to bottom, and play their game.
I mean, I'm not sure if you saw, there was a tweet go out, Snake is saying, I wish I could get rid of the land jitters. So he's obviously inside his own head now. And again, anybody that knows anything about Snakers knows that when he's confident, cocky, and I mean, talking shit, he's playing insane. And that's the kind of trifecta of things that Snakers needs. But again, this roster, it has a lot of talent, but again, it's unproven on the LAN, and that inexperience, it could start to show the cracks.
I mean, it's like an experiment, right? And this idea that it has tons of potential. They've put the theory out there that this could work, but right now the results we're getting are disproving the experiment. But I think if Snakers comes out today, if Shinboy falls in behind him and the 2 just sort of work as a nice combo, they could be big.
And in an event where you get to use 2 players that are essentially not allowed at certain other events, and with no more leagues and a sort of a sparse schedule where you're vying for opportunity, I feel like you can't really give too many away. So if the experiment doesn't work early enough, you might have another solution on the table.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow on to that, another team for me today that you can talk about is SDK.
Yeah.
That for me is, and again, I know these guys really well, I know Kurt really well, spoke to him obviously after, unfortunately not make it, I don't want to keep bringing up, not qualifying for the PGS Berlin, but I know obviously they're going to come into this event, wanting to prove what they truly believe, which is they're the best team in North America. And that's going to be their motivation here, is to solidify that. We talked back to Face It, being the 2nd place, and that was, a surprise to a lot of the international teams. The NA team made it into the top 3 and played as well as Shoot to Kill did. So I know that these guys are going to be... they're going to be coming into today with a different kind of tenacity, I think.
I don't want to double down on the NA bias. Yes, both of us spend a lot of time in that region. Like, to focus on some other ones as well. I think Red Canids needs to have a big day. They are widely considered by everyone in South America to be the premier South American team. Yeah. And they just are not showing it. I saw Rossi this morning and said, come on, what's happening? And he just said, it'll be a better day. But you can see they're very in their heads. They don't feel comfortable here. I genuinely think losing Pachinki and being okay with going somewhere else has really thrown them off their game. So can they adjust today? Can they make a better choice or find a new spot to get themselves back in this? That's a team that should be performing better.
Possibly see them challenging Liquid?
I mean, at this point, you're in 5th, but in 13th place, at that point, why not?
Yeah, at what point do you throw in the reins?
Potentially, if you get to the halfway point and you think, we're getting nothing done elsewhere, at that point, screw it. Go for it.
All right. Well, apparently all Pachinki teams suck, according to Wildcard. We'll see if that's true or not. Or maybe Liquid can get some more good results on day number 2 now that we're back onto Erangel. To find that out, of course, we have to send it over to our matte paper. I'm just going to leave it at that.
To the matte paper? I guess that's what you use when you paint, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I feel like paper matte rolls a little bit better off the tongue.
I don't know how that sounds to me, because it makes it seem like I'm the thing that you wipe your feet on whenever you're going into a house or something like that. So,
all right, fine, matte paper. You're right.
So
that's a little more artistic.
What's our return to that? Is Toffee Pock matte?
Toffee Pock?
Toffee Pockicus?
Sato Pock?
See,
Coffee.
yeah, okay, we're just going to end this. This is just trash segment. All right, so here we go, guys. We're getting ready for the first game of the day. I know you guys have been asking for it for quite a while, so we're getting everything set up, and it should be just a few minutes. But kudos to everybody on the analyst desk for breaking down a lot of the action and what to look forward to today, because that's the big part of it. Whenever you're looking at a Battle Royale, there are so many segments, so coming into it with so much more knowledge, always helpful.
Yeah, and today we get to do the first 3 games again, so it's going to be 2 games of Erangel and then a map of Sandhawk. After that will be D-Man and Avenger coming at you for 3 games of Miramar, so this should be pretty good. It looked like, Matrim, to me, that when we got to Erangel, to kind of put it very simply, the teams that we expected to be on top showed up.
Correct, 100%. Like, that's kind of what always happens. Whenever we make our way back over towards Erangel, the teams that sometimes suffer whenever we're looking towards Miramar, whenever we go towards Erangel, that's whenever the standards rise up. Everybody knows that map so well, so it almost feels like everybody goes back to their home turf, their home territory, and they know exactly what they want to do, and the game plan is always established.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm looking for is some NA teams to step up here on Erangel. Yesterday, it felt like it was all EU. I'm looking at you, Exodus. I'm looking at you, Wildcard. We got to get it going. Keenan played pretty well for Wildcard yesterday. I was looking at the stats. He was the top individual damage dealer out of NA, so he seems to be really fired up for this tournament. He's talking a lot of trash in between games and stuff. He's very funny on Twitter. I really love what I'm seeing from Wildcard, especially on Miramar yesterday. I thought Wildcard played quite well there, but we need to find something on Erangel. The NA teams need to challenge these top-tier EU teams.
Give me some more shoot to kill, please, is my thing right now. I want to see these guys perform. We know on international stages, this is a team that has done quite well in the past. They didn't do so well North American qualifiers. Everybody knows that story right now, but they did walk away with a round win yesterday.
And this is a team that we know is capable of putting up very strong back-to-back days of performances, right?
Yes.
We saw this in the PGC semifinals. They played out of their damn minds. So this is a team that absolutely has the potential to come out guns blazing today and take this tournament.
I want them to play more of that strategic style that we know that they can do. Like whenever they start setting up traps and they try to catch people in rotation, get a couple of kills early. It's almost like that started to phase away from them. But on the other side of that, Exodus, this has so much fragging power on this team, and I just want to see it cut loose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the most explosive NA team, I think, right now, and that's the type of roster, I think, for the way that competitive PUBG is shaping up in 2020, has a lot of potential. I think fragging power is one of the most important parts of the game. It's how you get probably the most points, in terms of what's available in the point pools. Yes, obviously a chicken dinner is nice, that 10 points is nice, but if you're averaging 5-6 kills a game, just based on that alone, you should be kind of averaging a few more points out of placements, giving yourselves that kind of magical 7 to 8 points a game you need to be in contention.
So many things change over time inside of PUBG, but one thing remains constant. When you see WTSG playing inside, at some point you know that they're going to be vying for that #1 spot, and they are in so much control right now.
They're nutty. They're absolutely nutty. I mean, this whole team, top to bottom, is stacked with fraggers. Iro yesterday was putting on a show for us. Vard, Mirku, the whole team. Of course, Zhang as well came in. He was actually their top damage dealer, despite all of the impressive stuff that we saw from Iro in the pregame highlights and that kind of thing. Actually, it was Zhang. He used to be Samty, everybody. I know it's a little confusing. We're all still getting used to it.
It's going to take me a while. Like, I keep seeing it, and I'm like, Samty, why did you do this to me? I'm going to mess it up at some point. I already know. But let's see. Plane path is pretty easy. I mean, really, it's just the teams up towards the north that might have a little bit of trouble. Like, if you're wanting to go around Yasnaya, that general direction, it's going to be a little bit more complicated for you, but there's plenty of cars potentially along this path. The question that I've got is how many teams might make that switch over towards military base to go for their drop position?
Yeah, well, I mean, Exodus had military base basically to themselves yesterday, so I think that might be changing just a bit. Here you can see the map screen right now. FaZe is actually heading down here. Now, yesterday, FaZe got bumped out of Mil to Power by Oath. They didn't feel like challenging Oath there, and now they're doing kind of a split loot around Exodus. This should be an interesting situation, depending on where the circle goes, because with this plane path, could end up being a Sosnovka circle. There could be a few teams that kind of clutter around the Pachinki area or something like that might duel over vehicles quickly, but Usually we don't see too much of that anymore. Typically teams are pretty good about avoiding each other at the start.
Well, we got the Miramar games yesterday. Oh, I was trying not to cast a curse, and I was like, we got the Miramar games yesterday, and they were all in the south, so maybe we'll get something different. Nope, just perpetually south for us is the way it's going to look. So a lot of water. I mean, this is a very southern circle, too. I mean, it's centered up on military base. So this is going to be everybody's decision-making a lot easier. Everybody's going to go, okay, most likely we're going to have to go over towards military base at some point, so we're going to see the rotations come through, potentially boats getting taken down. We're going to see all that stuff getting just removed out and potential bridge camps.
Yeah, so here we've got Fuzzface. He's going to tell us about some things that FaZe is working on.
And it's hard to tell now with a lot of new teams. No one has really played now with the new teams in actual tournaments. Because basically every team is different now in EU. Everyone had roster changes. So this is like the first actual event for almost every team now, I think. It's always fun to fight with Liquid. It's always been, we always had a lot of history. And now even more with Mexi as well. So it's like good friends, and we're good competitors, and we're both really good teams, so it's always fun.
As always, FaZe bringing up some good points there. I mean, we've got the history that is FaZe versus Liquid, that these guys bump into each other all the time. But with all the roster swaps, sure that you know all of these names, but the chemistry and the dynamics on how these teams play is entirely different.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see how this all shapes up. You know, is FaZe going to be still kind of always going mill to power, or is there going to be some other things that they're interested in doing, like we're seeing here today? With this extreme plane path, they were like, let's go to Sosnovka. There's a decent chance that this circle could end up down there. Let's take advantage of it, and we are going to secure ourselves the better position, what most people consider the most desirable position on Sosnovka Island, the west part of the military base.
Boats already starting to get used, trying to get those rotations going. We've got 3 teams that are firmly comfortable on Military Base Island. That's going to be Exalt, that's over next to the radio tower in that general vicinity. Exodus and FaZe, both kind of looting around off to the western part and the main part of Military Base Island. But Team Liquid, everybody knows these guys rotate early, but looks like the Canids might have a little bit of a trap sprung for him. Spray's going to go back over towards the motorcycle, and that's going to drop down very early. But the other 3 members do manage to make it through. But that is 1 member already down and out for Liquid.
That is a really nice spray with the barrel from Raspu. The Red Canids, like the guys were talking about in the pregame show, didn't have the best performance yesterday, and there was kind of some expectations from them as considered to be, like they were talking about, everybody seems to consider them the best team in the LATAM region, so this is the start maybe that they needed to kind of pick it up today.
Look at Exodus's rotation. Remember, they were due center on military base. They went to the military base proper. That's where they did their looting, and now they're opting to play back down towards the south, play along that coastline, try to catch people in rotation. We talked about Exodus loves to kill. This is their forte. They want to get those points early so that way they don't have to worry about the position points later. This is a perfect point to try to set up a trap because you know somebody's going to get a boat and rotate south.
Exactly. They're looking to catch whatever team came from Primorsk. In this case, it was Omakin, but Omakin went somebody else. Team Liquid, they are going to set up here on the just northwestern compound potentially, or they might try to bust into where Exodus already is. Now, Exodus is pretty split up. Vegas, Packcaps all by himself out here. Packcaps laying down some fire, but not really connecting.
Going to be able to get away from that one, and that's a narrow miss coming up from Team Liquid. Good job on their scouting. They're going to pull back away from this and make their way back over towards the north. Now, we do also have OMK that's on the island at this point that's already made their little breachhead, so that way they're going to hold down the beachfront off over towards the west. A lot of teams kind of caught up with each other, taking a couple of pot shots. You can see Athletico way out there, but the Canids do find themselves a crate on top of a potential bridge camp, so that's going to be a little bit more fuel for the fire, anybody that decides to go along this western bridge. Right now, they're kind of gatekeeping out Navi's, keeping an eye on that direction, but Athletico and IG have really been on the hunt for boats over here, and these guys just driving circles around each other for about the last 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, this is, a nice spot to find some boats. Of course, there's tons of spawns over here, but now they're going to have to duel over it. Nick 101 putting some shots down. There's some return fire coming from members of IG clear across the lake over by, well, it's not technically a lake, it's like a bay. From the bay, and there's Oath over here still as well, as they're looking for boats around the southwestern part of Mill to Power, or southeastern, excuse me. And there's still 3 teams that are going to chill out here and maybe just kind of battle it out to see who survives and is able to try to come over through Novo.
Everybody's opting towards those boats over on the eastern part of the main island because nobody wants to go next to the canal right now. That whole area around Ferry Pier and south of Farm, it's very dangerous to try to collect boats just due to how the circle is set up. So that's how come we're seeing so many teams, even if they're not normally eastern teams, trying to wrap that direction to see if they can spot out something and get a boat early, maybe make a little bit safer of a rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I've got my eye on the map is Shoot to Kill, who is making that longer rotation. Now, you can see Omikin there. They went straight across from Primorsk over to the Sosnovka Island. I like that decision by them. It was quick. It was fast. They didn't run into a trap set up by Exodus. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if, as is tradition, Matrim, NA on NA action.
Oh, my God. Every single time we are the harbingers of our own doom. But Oath has got a nice line back over towards IG. Gets an easy down to Ostrovovac, just trying to get that flush out, but that's going to stop them again. This is all about that boat hunt that's going on right now. Rello going to toss out a very good grenade. Should roll right underneath of that UAZ. Take him down. And yep, there we go. We've got another person down and out. IG has to figure out how they're going to handle this situation. You can see the spread in the bottom right. Oath is already kind of holding down the peninsula, and the rest of IG is trying to figure out how to react to this, but Snakers coming up back behind him.
Love this move by Snakers. He is going to completely pin Pixel in. Pixel is in a ton of trouble. I'm not exactly sure how he gets out of this. I don't see a vehicle available for him. He's doing a good job right now keeping himself safe. He heard that vehicle, of course. Now Snakers moving a little bit further. What Oath wants to do here is just completely block IG from getting anywhere near the coast.
It looks like Shinboy might be contemplating going for some kills there, but Meta is finding themselves in a lot of trouble. That spray from T-Bone does a lot of work. Meta's just trying to gun it through, but that is a second member down. Sure, they managed to make it to this cliffside, but what do you do next? Everybody is going to be hunting you down. You can see that everybody on Meta is weakened at this point. They've got 2 members up, and they're just clinging to the sides of that cliff, praying for some safety.
Yeah, this is about all she wrote for Meta. There just isn't much they're going to be able to do from that position. They are completely pinned beyond these rocks. There is a little bit of cover available, but I don't know what you can do here. A good cook on this grenade should be, but that was coming up right in his face.
That is a nice step away there. Grenade's going to come down, take down VHZ as well as the boat. Now it's just Hagen, the last person up, and Redneck Fishing coming into play as the grenades are just rolling back down to the water, hoping it connects. But again, I think he's got himself a little bit of a cubby that he can hide out in, but that's going to be his life for quite a while.
Yeah, there's literally nothing else he can do from there except wait and hope that somehow Omikin gets forced out of this position due to some fighting, and wow.
New circle shift, and if you're Singularity, Athletico, IG, or even Oath at this point, all those guys kind of got caught up around Milton, they're in some trouble. They've got a long rotation coming through, but another circle with a lot of water in, but the guys that were kind of playing around the bridge and around Ferry Pier going to get rewarded as they're not going to have to make their rotation quite yet.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. WTSG is going to be one of the last ones to come through. Oh, no. Oh, no.
2 more quick downs, and this is just a catastrophe over here to the east. Around Milta is just a death trap.
Yeah, good job by Singularity, kind of, just setting up here. And there's like 4 teams that were up by Milta Power area that were kind of fighting over. Now, Oath was able to get across using, I'm assuming, a boat over to Novo, so they kind of won that boat war. And then IG is in a world of hurt, though. They have lost so many members along the way. Athletico did find themselves a couple boats over by Milta, so they're going to be moving down towards Novo as well. Meanwhile, Singularity still going to be eating some blue, but with circles like this, that's not necessarily the end of the world. It's not what you want. You would much rather be vying for position and taking good fights and getting points that way, but you never know. You might be able to sneak something in.
One thing to note coming over here, we did see Shoot to Kill move back over next to OMK. Took some shots at him, so now OMK really can't gatekeep out what we saw going on with Metagaming a second ago. So T-Bone gets dropped down off of that, not going to be able to get the reses back over for him. So Shoot to Kill still continuing on the hunt over towards the west, just trying to pick up the stragglers of Meta.
Yeah, and now they're over by, OMK as well. Omikin, I'm assuming T-Bone fell off the cliff there.
Oh, he got shot.
Happened? He got shot by you saw it in the kill feed? I didn't see it. I don't. Okay. Did he drop down there? He must have dropped down to try to protect himself.
I don't know why he went down there. I'm willing to bet that he just crawled down for safety because it looks like OMK is trying to go for this res. I'm not certain that anybody from Shoot to Kill even knows that Meta is around this position. I mean, who would think that somebody is kind of clinging into a cubby at this point? But Luke is on the hunt for the remnants of this. They know that a res might be coming through for it. Luke does get a nice little angle back over towards T-Bone yet again. Manages to flush him out. So that OMK reposition, they did get the res, but now they put themselves in a very vulnerable spot.
Yeah, Omican had a good idea here, but they just kind of overcommitted to getting that last member of meta, and then Shoot to Kill came up. I'm assuming Shoot to Kill kind of got blocked off by potential fire from Exodus. We didn't exactly see what happened. Maybe they didn't even go that far down. I'm not sure. But now Omican is in a bit of trouble because they lost a member. Paige is kind of stuck out there by himself because Shoot to Kill knows somebody's out there because somebody had to have rezzed T-Bone, and now they can just kind of gatekeep this for a bit, especially with this hard Western shift.
I love this position from WTSG right now. We see this be very popular, especially in circles like this. You get a lot of vision, a lot of control of the circles, and looks like our Athletico boys are still about half a kilometer outside of the safe zone, but Oath, Singularity, and them, we saw that they were dancing around Milta for quite a while, finally starting to get close to making it to safety. But Purdy Curdy's got himself a beautiful high position right now that he can just rain so much damage from. He can see all the way over to where WTSG is at.
Yeah, this is a nice spot here for Shoot to Kill. Eventually, they're most likely going to get kind of pushed out of it. Potentially not. Every once in a while, you get some crazy circles that end up by the beaches, but they're pretty rare. For now, they can at least get the information and figure out how they want to attack it. The problem is they're... Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Now it's
there's the problem
feisty,
right there. Forget my last point.
Yeah, but we look like we're starting to center around that bridge location, and now everybody that's on Military Base Island, they're very comfortable. Most of the teams did opt over towards the west, but our latecomers from that Milta skirmish still just having so much trouble making their way over here. You can see it's going to be Nylap all by himself, was just trying to see if there were any stragglers and spots out a full team. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get it down to him, but that's more damage stacked on top of all that blue already. So you can see Oath very weakened in this position, trying to make their approach. Singularity just a little bit ahead of them.
Yeah, and Singularity did get a knock onto Monkey from Exalt, so not the start they wanted. And here is some more crossfire. Exodus is going to get Raylo. He was very weak. Can they get anybody else from Oath? It looks like no. The other members of Oath are able to get away, but they are going to lose one with this late transition.
But where do you go, Oath? Ahead of this, even if you continue on this path, it's going to be Team Liquid that you're going to have to run next to. And then after that, it's Shoot to Kill. They've already lost one member. You can see they're at half-life. They do finally manage to find a place to stop. Nobody takes any shots, but it's still not inside the safe zone. They're just trying to use this as a chance to regroup. Singularity is not getting that opportunity, and you can see that they're stopping right on the edge of the safe zone, but Exodus, Exalt, and FaZe all have vision on them.
Yeah, Singularity is about to be in a awful crossfire. There's going to be 3 or 4 teams that are going to be putting shots into them, and that is going to be really challenging. Now, there's a bunch of teams on this southeastern corner, of course, because of the way things rotated. Exalt still has work to do. Careful, Shiv. Oh, boy.
Hey,
yeah, I think he might have got that stuck.
He has a tire lost on it already. Exalt trying to figure out how to make their way through. Singularity's got a couple of smokes down to protect them from FaZe, but Exodus Patcap's taking a couple of shots while really Singularity is trying to focus on this rotation from Exalt. They're doing enough damage that's going to force them back over next to FaZe. Uba doesn't look like he's quite set up in a position for this. Grenade's going to come out, and you can see Nylap's just going to run right underneath of it. That is a ton of damage coming through there, and God! Exalt just gets destroyed by FaZe.
Who else but Uba with the perfect grenade? Now, that is a little unfortunate there for Exalt. They probably didn't hear the grenade on the ground. They drove in there, of course, because you want to get that vehicle inside of there to get some cover and some safety. But my goodness, what a play by Uba.
Athletico couldn't find an easy path in, so they're actually separated out. They've got Flood way over towards the west, still in the water, but then on the east, they've got some people posted up. Rotation still having a lot of trouble coming through. As you can see, it's going to be Pome looking back over towards Patcaps, trying to get a little bit more damage over towards him. Taylor J takes a face full of bullets as he slides right by K-Mine. That's 2 members down. They're trying to follow this back up. K-Mine goes for the reload, trying to get the damage onto it, and that is another Exodus member down. K-Mine is just destroying everybody on that team solo.
Yeah, that is 3 so far for K-Mine. Now he's taking some damage from STK, so that's going to back him off a little bit. Patcaps trying to get it. He does get the knock onto K-Mine, so at least Patcaps is able to do that. Ooh, careful. He almost got stuck on the door there. He's going to be able to get in. I think he should be able to finish off K-Mine if no one else steals it. There is our next circle. Finally, we get one that doesn't have mostly water in it.
So with this, Liquid's trying to rotate through. Flood does get spotted out. We can see Shoot to Kill still holding down this high ground position. They're going to have to rotate in a second. Oath tries to roll back over next to another Liquid member, and it seems like it only takes one Liquid member to hold back a full team at this point.
Well, they're all so talented as players, so they can rely on that. You can never count out a Team Liquid squad that still has 2 up, especially Ibiza and James, who have been playing together for so long. Navi's still 4 strong, been extremely quiet this game, no kills, so they're just kind of happy to get into the circles, control territory, and just wait it out and see if they can maybe eke out the chicken dinner somehow.
FaZe trying to regroup at this point. They are inside the safe zone. We've got a couple of teams that have been very comfortable with these circle shifts, and that's going to be WTSG, I would say Na'Vi as well, and oddly enough, now Singularity. While they were caught up on that hillside, they did manage to rotate up onto the top of it, so they have a little bit of breathing room to work with now.
Yeah, they got some help there from Exalt, who busted into FaZe, gave them some time to push a little bit farther ahead. Then Exodus swung in from the west side, diverted some of Team Liquid's attention so they could push up on top of the hill into the compound.
WTSG and Wildcard taking a couple of shots. It's going to be Wooly that's kind of leading the way on that, trying to get a little bit closer as there's a little bit of split coming out from WTSG to hold them back. Meanwhile, you can see that FaZe still caught up with the other members of Athletico that opted to not go inside the boat and managed to live it just a touch longer. Oath finally getting eliminated by some shots from Purdy Curdy there. And Athletico is really just on damage control right now. You can see that they don't have a lot of information to work with. They don't know where any of the teams are positioned, and they're just in a very difficult rotate spot.
Yeah, this is something I saw from Athletico in the OCE qualifiers, that when they're given really difficult circles, they'll split one member off to just try to see if they can eke out some placement points, send a 3-1. The one goes somewhere else, way away from the team. The other three members try to stick together, battle it out, duke it out that way, and they're trying to hedge their bets.
NATO Energy just trying to creep a little bit closer towards that safe zone, but Shoot to Kill finally starting to encroach on this complex that OMK is holding down. So another member of Athletico gets spotted out, and I just feel like they're not too much longer for this world. Really, Nick and Zoidmate are in some trouble right now. Neither one has a clear path to make it into the safe zone. Well, it's just a continued sweep coming out from Shoot to Kill. Tornado Energy finally gets tired of dancing around the edge of the circle and decides to send it. They're just going to use these vehicles to make up this hillside, but guess who's already sitting up there? That's going to be WTSG. Already caught up in a fight on a different angle, though, so Wildcard's going to go ahead and take a couple of shots their direction.
Yeah, this is a really tough rotation here for Tornado Energy. WTSG up on that hill that you were talking about earlier. That's a really, really nice spot to be. Compot gets ahead. Ooh, SDK is going to finish off Omakin. They are down in 14th place. So SDK, I think, lost maybe one member?
Yeah, they've lost one member, but they're perfectly fine with that. If I could lose one of my team members and get 7 kills per game, I'd be happy as a lark.
I'll take it every time, almost.
Grenade's going to end up a little bit short, but do us some damage over towards Kickstart. Next one's going to be a little bit closer towards Keenan, but nothing to worry about. Free kill is kind of the thing that Wildcard doesn't have their eyes on that could sneak up back behind him right now. Tornado Energy is just getting grenades rained upon them. Athletico finally finds a weakness that they can exploit and does manage to get a couple of kills out of that.
Wow, what a play by Zoidmate, coming in there and putting the hurt into Tornado. That is an excellent solo play, picking up 2 kills for himself. Zoidmate looking to be the hero for OCE. He gets another knock on a Keenan with this M16. This guy is feeling it right now.
He's just killing a path in. I thought that he was just going to be caught out, but he's right now fragging out of his mind. Doesn't have a lot more utility to work with. He does have the 6 smoke grenades, but no more frag grenades. It's all just going to have to be aim and positioning coming out from him. But he has Na'Vi back down towards the south that knows where he's at, and the remnants of Tornado Energy that are blocking him out. He does have kind of a sneaky path that he can take, but Wildcard is denying that angle.
All right, there's some big rotations that are going to be happening just in a moment here. FaZe and Singularity need to push up. Na'Vi as well has to get up and in onto the bottom side of that hill potentially. Meanwhile, WTSG is just going to keep controlling the top. In fact, it looks like they might be pushing onto the red Canids, and a Wildcard is cleaning up the rest of Tornado.
This could be bad. You can see Kodak is looking back over towards Team Liquid as FaZe is making their push. On the minimap, you can see FaZe is almost right back behind him. There's just that little bit of a hill that's blocking vision on it, and the moment Fuzzface decides to start stepping over here, yeah, everybody on Singularity is just out in the open, so that's an easy down back over towards Harold. Pome has now got the information for it, but Kodak was supposed to be the guy that spotted this out, and he just did not see it.
Yeah, Pome is at least going to get one shot into Fuzz, back him off just a bit. There is the red Canids going down to WTSG's push. Very, very aggressive move. Love that move by them, recognizing they have an odd man situation. They bully through, get that position, get one of the last compounds in the circle.
And here's a scary vision right now. It's going to be Uba that was making the push back over. Pome does jump over into the buggy to get away from FaZe. But it's really just Abisa that can kind of hold him outside of this. Remember, Team Liquid did have a couple of losses as they came through. And hey, look, Hagen did manage to make it out of that rock, but now he's got Shoot to Kill that's pressuring up onto him. Tries to go for the grenade, but nice push out onto that. Catches Luke while he has the grenade primed. Buys a little bit more space and at least another kill for himself.
Yeah, Luke gets taken down by his own cooked grenade. Hyagwin does get taken down by Pat Caps in return. Oh, not in return. That's Exodus. Excuse me. SDK is down to 2. Exodus, just 1. It's SDK with 2. And I don't know. This is not going well here for the NA boys once again.
Ripzoid, mate. You tried your hardest. You got some kills for your team, but does finally get spotted out by a Wildcard who's making the push. All the violence is going on back down towards the south. It's going to be FaZe continuing their push right up next to Singularity. Singularity did get the position just a little bit ahead of them, but there's just nowhere for Singularity. There's no terrain to work with. You can see they're just dancing around out in the open. Too many bullets coming out from FaZe right now, and that pushes them up to 9 kills.
Yep, FaZe just with the better positioning there. They're able to get underneath the team of Singularity as they're getting distracted by all these other teams getting shot at them. Circle's just going to go a little bit more west. WTSG's compound still in this as FaZe is going to continue to push through. Now Navi and WC are up there on the top. Let's see if they end up squaring off a bit.
Looks like a little bit of a push is coming out from Navi. Shoot to kill looks like they might be also contemplating going after Pat Caps. Jeems going down is pretty problematic as Ibiza doesn't have a clean path to make it over towards him. He should be flushed out at this point. But Wildcard and Navi both need to figure out how they're going to handle this fight very quickly. There's a couple of terrain pieces that are in between them, but they're kind of gatekeeping each other out of making a move towards the safe zone right now.
Yeah, exactly. I expect there to be a lot of damage done to these teams as they try to push through. WTSG can just kind of farm the remnants as they come in for now. Grenade up and over from Tab.
Ooh.
Will it be far enough? Keenan, he is going to go down, finished off by Bestalach as the other members of Navi trying to push through, but there's some other fire backing them off.
I like the dancing around the hillside. Wildcard had a read on it. You can see Sharpshot was in position for that. Wooly's making an abrupt push around the side of this. He's going to be their guy. He's got the AK ready. Beautiful weapon for a close-range skirmish like this. So if he can actually creep up onto this and just use the blue to come up back behind Navi, he can do a ton of work. Wildcard's been involved in a lot of fights, but only at 4 kills right now. As you can see, Pat Caps finally gets taken down. Exodus making the push through, but really it's just going to be how does Navi respond to this?
Yeah, it's still Navi with a bit of a better defensive position. Kickstart taking a bunch of damage. Sharpshot is knocked by Bestalach. Wooly's trying to push through. He just isn't able to quite get close enough to utilize that AK. I don't think he saw the guy on his left. He gets taken down by Bestalach as well. That grenade not really going to matter too much as Navi is able to completely wipe Wildcard off the map.
With the positioning, FaZe could actually look back down over towards Wildcard as well, but you can see up the hillside, FaZe could not see Navi, so a little bit of assistance coming in with that. Now, it's going to be Navi continuing on this push back over there, but I think a couple of shots from FaZe are going to slow them down. So we are down to 4 teams. It's going to be WTSG, who's been quite comfortable with circles the past couple of times, and FaZe Navi having to chase their way in, and then the 2-man squad of shoot to kill.
Wow! Zhong, he has the AWM. He gets 1 knock onto Senya, gets backed off by the quick return fire, but this is scary, scary stuff here if you're any of these other teams. Hearing that gun ringing out, with seeing that player that has it in his hands, it's going to be a really, really tough final circle for
That's why he changed his name. So see, whenever he has the sniper rifle, there's that second of, oh, hey, who's that? It's all the master plan coming out for him. So Navi looks like they're contemplating wanting to tangle around where WTSG is, hoping the fact that they might have to move out of that position, catch him as they're having to leave that, because this is all right along the edge. Only one team is kind of positioned up and towards the center of the safe zone, and that's oddly enough shoot to kill. Tab just takes a nice shot to the face there coming out from 8. See, that's 2 members of Navi down. While Navi was trying to contend back over with WTSG, it's going to be FaZe that comes up back behind them.
Yeah, Vard is actually going to get the finish onto Senya with the grenade, stealing that kill. Kemba is trying to back FaZe off here. He has this SKS, gets a few shots in. The other members of FaZe are going to back off behind the rock. Iroh, though, is going to do some damage, of course, getting the headshot onto Kemba, putting him down. It's all up to Bestalach.
Contemplating going for that res. You can see WTSG is starting to spread out a little bit more, move out of the buildings, try to get a little bit more control over the territory that's next to them. The grenade does connect for a little bit of damage, but trying to go for this res at this point. WTSG wants to extend out, but it's going to be FaZe that's kind of holding them back from that position, as we have had the new circle pop, and a little bit of this complex that WTSG is in is still inside the safe zone.
Yep, right now it's looking, again, still really, really good for WTSG. FaZe as well, still 4 strong, so FaZe has the high ground. This could be a very nice situation for them. What is STK going to do? Looks like they might be the ones that are going to play the spoilers because Navi has been eliminated.
Really, I'm kind of contemplating how FaZe is going to move into this. They know that they have shoot to kill down on one angle. They know exactly where WTSG is going to be at. Now they're going to start using this utility to try to get Uba back up on a different angle. He was kind of the guy that was holding them out. Looks like FaZe has decided it's time to go after shoot to kill, and they're aggressively moving back over towards Uncivil at this point. Hiding back behind that tree, right on the other side of this. Gustav just says, no thank you, takes him down. And now Alo is just clinging to life right on the edge of the circle, somehow managing to avoid a couple of those bullets, but he is not inside the safe zone and has got to move forward with near on nothing to cover it.
I like the idea here by FaZe. Make sure this flank is clear, get rid of this, and then make it the 4-on-4 battle, where if the circle shifts away from WTSG, you are in a really, really nice spot to take this first game, and what a hell of a finish that could be. Two of the best teams in EU at full strength going at it.
High ground versus low ground positioning coming into play. WTSG is trying to use a distraction that Shoot to Kill was providing to make it towards some cover. Vard does manage to make it. Now the shot's coming back over towards Uba. Right along the high lines, we can see that's going to be FaZe holding this down. But Fuzzface is starting to move back down over next to Alo. They really want to make sure that they get rid of this so that way they can just turn this onto a clean 4v4. If Alo hits the shot, that could be huge, though.
Yeah, exactly. If Alo gets a knock onto either team, that could absolutely change things. Now, the circle did go in favor of WTSG, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging for FaZe. They're going to have to come down this hill, and we talk about it all the time. Coming down a hill in competitive PUBG is a very difficult challenge, but Uba's opening up with one knock. Returning the favor is Miraku.
Pushing on multiple angles. So with this, we've now moved into a 3v3 with one member on each team down. One team looks like they're throwing out the smokes, contemplating trying to go for this res, but at this point, the distraction of a secondary member not being able to be involved in any defense is very huge. Miraku's trying to make the run over towards it, gets tagged a couple of times, slows him down, and Vard's still playing that point position, trying to hold back FaZe. This is a 12-kill team versus a 7-kill team right now. They have cleaned up so much of this lobby.
I tell you what, Vard is doing a fantastic job up front. Fuzzface goes down. Gustav's going down as well. 8C, the only member left standing for FaZe, trying to get some shots into Iro. Nothing connecting. He is just raining it down. As soon as WTSG finds him, he is going to just get massacred.
1v4 situation running down an open hillside. WTSG knows they were paying attention. They have the control. Starting to move forward back over towards it while they're just cleaning out every single kill that they can. 8C still has not yet made it inside the safe zone while WTSG is just starting to stranglehold everything around them. Vard creeping up. I think he's just trying to spot out where that angle's coming through. Finally, they do manage to connect with it. With 11 kills, it's going to be WTSG that takes the round.
Well, the end of yesterday looks a lot like the start to today, Matchroom. This is a very, very, very scary team in WTSG. When they get the circles, they know how to control it. Taking that compound from the Red Canids was a huge moment for them.
See, it's all about the sunny beaches and the nice bridges. Look at how they played that. They crossed the bridge, managed to get over there very quickly. They do have themselves a lot of control along the beach. All pays off on the end. Everything showing up perfectly for WTSG. Really, they were one of the few teams that really didn't have to contend with the circle a lot.
No, they didn't. And, you know, you could talk about getting the circle or whatever, but it's the micro movements that they make inside of the circle that are important to keep not only the circle in their favor, but keep the best positions in that circle. And they didn't. It wasn't like they were given them. They had to battle for it at times, and they're able to do it cleanly and effectively.
Couple of big shout outs. We want to make sure to mention Luke 12, who walks away with 3 kills, as well as Alo, but really Uba with 5 kills, and Vard up there with, I believe, 6 kills coming in for his team. We've got some big fragging power coming out of EU right now, and with a little bit of NA guys trying to come up and start to threaten them.
Well, we got to give STK some credit there. They had a tough transition to make coming along that western coast, being the last team to come in from the western side. They're able to make it work. They kind of catch Omekin with their pants down a little bit as Omekin is trying to figure out what's going on with Hyagwin down there underneath the rocks, and then all of a sudden the wheels just fell off the bus for Omekin.
I feel so bad for metagaming. We've all had that happen whenever we played a game. You're like, oh crap, it's a military base. Get in the boats, start making the rotation, lose a member, and then you just end up clinging to life along the cliff face, and there's nowhere to go. There's no easy rotates up on it. It is it's a death trap when you get caught up in that position.
Yeah, you could see that. I think there must have been something that went on in scrims because nobody even tried to go around the southern part. So people must have known that Exodus kind of had this idea that they want to gatekeep, or they just know that that's kind of
there's
how they
always
wanna
that
do
one
it.
team.
Yeah.
This time it was Exodus that went for that little like beachfront that's down there. But also, I'm kind of curious on how Hagen, we didn't see it, managed to get out of that position and actually make it to a building. Sure, he got killed once he made it to the buildings, but he bought a lot more time than he really should have. That was a good play.
Yeah, you got to give him a lot of credit. I'm really curious to see how that happened because we didn't really get to see it. There's always a ton of stuff going on, so that's fascinating. Yeah, when he was still alive, and I was like, huh. That's kind of cool.
I was like dumbfounded for a second, like, how the hell did that happen? All right, guys. So if you're just now tuning in, remember, we're not going to go back to the analyst desk or anything else like that. We're going to do a halftime show. So we're going to get back into the next game as fast as possible, but we are going to take a very quick break so that way everybody can get up, go to the restroom. We will see you in just a few minutes.
Don't just watch PUBG, compete as well. Competitive ELO and ranking system. Climb the ladder. Start your path to pro. Head over to play.gll.gg. The best PUBG platform.